Hello and a very warm welcome to ET Studios. I am Himanshi Tiwari and we are joining you from the ET CISO Annual Conclave in Vizag. Now here we are going to discuss about identity and access management, which is very critical subject when it comes to cybersecurity. And to discuss this and much more, we are joined in by three gentlemen. Say hello to Binod Singh, founder, CEO, Cross Identity. Hi, sir. Ravi Ratnam, CISO, Crate Access, Grameen and Abhishek Bansal, of course, CISO Max Life Insurance. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show today. All right, now in this episode, we're going to talk about IAMs, the challenges that comes in with the implementation of IAMs. To start off this conversation, I want to start with you, Abhishek. If you can explain in simpler terms what is IAM, right, and why is it essential for us? Why is there a need to even talk about it?
Okay, interesting that we are going back to roots. In very simplistic terms, I would say IAM is right person having the right access for the job, right? And it's been pertinent, I think, since almost now 18 plus years. And the initial onset was more to have the effective usage of resources. It was less thought of as a security technology and more as an IT productivity technology to begin with. But today, the need is very pertinent for data security, for keeping the data confidential, having the right access to resources. How do you really put monitoring on them? How do you really see if there is a malactor getting access to the legitimate resources? So that's where the importance of identity and access management has risen from pure play effective usage of resources to a far fundamental role, which is being played in managing organization resources, in terms of access management, in terms of data security, right? We do have this recent compliance law which has come by, but apparently, needless to say, it's not only the latest data protection law, but numerous other laws by regulators. They all underscore the importance of managing identities, right from generic accesses to how do you kind of review them, recertify them, keep them active and current. So it's not like somebody who's not part of your organization still have access to your resources. It's not like somebody is no longer a customer but still get access to resources, and so on and so forth. No, it goes to a broader ecosystem of the partners as well. So in my view, identity plays a crucial role. You kind of look into any recent cyber attack, or maybe you rewind last 2 years, 3 years, you will find identity at the core. So that's the importance of identity.
All right, really interesting insights. But I also want to ask from you, how can IAMs actually balance the organization's security and operational efficiency? How are they balanced because of IAMs?
So there is a fundamental which goes behind, say, for example, every business, and the more and more digitized we are getting, every business as part of the value chain requires systems, right? But in the same systems require different type of accesses. In technology parlance, we call them as access control pairs, right? And these are all managed by different. So this is decentralized manner, whereby these are all managed by businesses. However, there is a segregation of roles, right? Very lamely put, say for example, this has been there even in pen and paper offices, whereby if somebody is approving and signing a check, there is another guy who is kind of approving it. So in technology parlance, it is called as segregation of duties. Now when you're creating those access control list, how you are managing the segregation of duties? Now if somebody is having a super access, now this person is actually having superpowers, if I may say, right? Do you really see that the guy with superpowers is making right use of those superpowers, or is abusing the superpowers? So for managing all of these, definitely these solutions come into play. But that's a balancing act an organization needs to do. If you really need to reap benefits of digital systems, you really need to see how technology is playing role. While so this is a balancing act where no product solutions processes kind of help, if I may say, the weakest node, which is the people, to operate effectively.
All right, thank you for those insights. And with that, I would like to come to you, Ravi. When it comes to choosing the right sort of technology, when it comes to choosing the right IAM technology, how did you do that? Because you've already done that, right? How did you choose the right IAM technology? And what is that checklist that we all need to hear from you?
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. Thanks for the specific question. Before coming to technology, what matters is the real business use case, right? We need to look at the products in the market, which caters to the most of or addresses all the business use cases. The product which has got rich functional features, you know. Then coming to technology, technology can do anything, today, right? What is more important is, I would love to start with what Abhishek already mentioned: the access control matrix, the integration between the access control matrix and the right technology product, the experience of the product, and the service provider. You know, the convergence, the one who can actually do real convergence, the experience from the services mindset, right? All this plays a major role in terms of selecting a partner. And of course, the partner's commitment, attitude in terms of helping the organization to really reap the benefits, that is more important, right? With the partners coming with more and more experience of implementing the product features across the similar organization will naturally get the edge over there. And which means that is their experience, right? We would like to get their expertise and experience into the organization. The commitment from the senior management level, right? The involvement from the senior management level plays a major role than looking at the commercials, of course, is very important, right? But whatever I said earlier are much more important than deciding on commercial basis.
All right, thank you so
Mm.
much for telling us how to choose that sort of technology. But coming to you, Binod, same question. When it comes to choosing the right IM technology, what should organizations look at? I mean, from your product perspective, you can give a wider perspective to us. You've been dealing with a lot of consumers at this point. So, how and what should organizations look while choosing the right IM technology?
So, as Ravi very rightly pointed out, when it comes to technology or products, in the wider sense, they can do everything today. You got some technology available somewhere which will solve some of the problems. But one of the issues that is cropping up in the industry is people have got too many tools now. In fact, if you look at a larger organization, you will find having 5, 10, 12 tools on IAM from different areas, and putting them all together into an integrated fashion is becoming a challenge. So one should be looking at, there is this principle of convergence that has recently come in over the last couple of years, 3, 4 years in IAM. And I think it's important to look at more of a converged technology. One, having said that, organizations have already made investments in IAM. They have got point tools, and I don't think one should look at throwing them away. Protecting the investments that have already gone in is equally important. So, whatever technology is chosen, even if it's providing a converged solution, it should be possible in that to be able to assimilate or integrate with the existing technologies. So, it's not that rip and replace is not really an option today. I think the other factor is in terms of the agility of the technology, how much of continued development more relevant for that geography. Like, for example, India has got some very, very critical requirements which are not true for the rest of the world. India has got the largest penetration of mobiles in the world. And we frequently find, which Ravi would agree, that mobile phones or smartphones are being used by their many of the contractors for very, very important purposes. Now that is not so much there when you look at US. Likewise, if you look at the regulatory compliances in India, RBI in some senses we are seeing has gone beyond what we have seen in the US. So you got to look at the localized problems, and technology should be able to solve the localized problems. In essence, the agility of the technology vendor to be able to keep in touch with the local realities and provide solutions accordingly is extremely important.
All right, thank you for that insight. But on that note, I would also like to learn about planning the implementation. And for that, I would come to you, Abhishek. When it comes to planning the implementation of IAMs, it's a complex process, right? From the industry perspective, like how can we better plan the implementation of IAMs? Like from your experience, if you can tell us.
I think it goes with, when we say planning, right? It goes with collection and the entire inventory you kind of put up. What are the accesses you want to give? Who do you want to give, right? You need to have that entire set of segregations and need to have those design principles in place. Like one of the design principles which I mentioned in my conversation was around having segregation of duties, right? You need to also see whether you need to have defense in depth. So, for example, what kind of controls you need to put in with respect to identification, with respect to authentication, and with respect to authorization. So, what do I mean by that is probably each one of us has a banking account, right? So, you go on a net banking site, you punch in your customer ID or an ID which is known to you. That's how you get to know maybe an image or something which relates to your identity. But till the time you punch in your password, it doesn't let you in. Maybe you are able to see your balances and know some of those things, but the moment you want to transfer money to me, you need to put in your authorization code. And again, on authorization code, there can be one factor or two factor of authentication. So based on the nature of operations, so you need to have again that inventory of operations, how sensitive that operation is, what kind of access you want to give in. I just gave one example which is more business related to everyone, but this goes very well deep into when even one is managing technical systems, right? There could be users at top, there could be somebody who's a super admin, there could be somebody who's a root user. Now how do you want to provide access to them? And something which is very crucial for you, right? Let's say, for example, the root user or the utmost admin user, you would want to have, let's say, maybe some bit of an extra additional monitoring on top of them. You may want to have, let's say, maybe two factors. No, it could be something you have, something right? Maybe a biometric, maybe a password put together, and you can do with a lot of technologies put together. But these ground rules need to be clear in terms of how do you maintain them. That's where the first level of job is to have the inventory of those transactions and operations. Second is to have the roles, access, no permission pairs. Who do you want to give? In our parlance, again, we say read, write, update. Who can simply view, who can simply update, and who can also have the rights to delete it, right? So this is the first ground which has to be kind of cleared first. Then comes in, you take in steps, basically, again, uh, I have umpteen number of examples in terms, organizations are never homogeneous in nature. You will have multiple technologies, you will have multiple partners. One may not talk to each other from a technology layer perspective, but you still need to provide access. You still need to provide data. So how do you do it? There is a role of identity. So for example, there are ways and means whereby we operate with a lot of third party partners, right? How do I share? I will create an identity, I'll give them an access to my SFTP, and he will log in from that identity which is binded to a location to get access to that data. Now this is a pertinent requirement because till the time I give you data, you will not be able to operate. So you need to have first this inventory in place, you need to have those principles in place, so that the right use, again, the right person getting the right access for the right job, right? Now this is the core. The moment you kind of design this, that's where the systems come into place. Now the systems are, again, you need to have something called as an authoritative source. Now there can be too many Abhishek Bansals actually in the world, but the one who belongs to Max Life, and he's the one who's trying to enter into a system. How does your system get to know? So there has to be an authoritative source where if I only punch in my ID, I only punch in my password, and the same ID and password is in my authoritative source, then only you get to know that this is Abhishek Bansal who needs to be given access. So this is the background of the entire planning which one needs to do. And as you kind of progress, this becomes more and more mature in terms of how do you operate it out at a ground level.
All right, thank you for sharing that. Really interesting examples. Even I could now understand what are IAMs for and how we can actually implement them. But on that note, I would like to come to you, Ravi. You implemented IAMs, right? I want to know from you what planning went while implementing these IAMs at your organizations, and what are those steps involved?
Abhishek covered it really, really well. He spoke about segregation of duties, and then integrating that with the product. I look at from management perspective. If you look at whatever we do, we'll have to really see what benefit it yields to the end user who is actually using it, right? A single sign on, right? From end user perspective, yes, I don't have to log into multiple application, I don't have to remember multiple passwords. So one strong password is sufficient for me to remember and then use it across. This is one benefit that I will give it to the end user. More than that, the access management plays a very critical role. So now the entities are regulated, right? Looking at RBI regulations and guidelines and many other factors, the audit guidelines and all those things. If you really look at, how do you effectively control the access management end to end? So who is doing that? So who is providing an access? Who is creating? Who is deactivating? All those things. So we need to first look at, where is my single source of truth? How do I integrate with my single source of truth? Single source of truth is nothing but our HRMS system, right? And then how effectively I can get the data, how the user can get benefit. The user means user access management team, right? Today, if you do it manually, every single employee who joins, you have to create the user, who exit the organization, you have to go and manually deactivate it. A lot of technologies, RPAs helps to automate that bit. However, the perfect way of doing it is through an IDAM solution, where the user access management part is completely clear. So coming to back to that point, who is doing that? What is the benefit that you will be getting it? How you have to do that? Train them. One is that segregation of duties configuration, benefits to the end users, and benefits to the user access management team in terms of what you will get. These are all very key components. In addition to that, explain the benefit to the users and the senior management, involve the senior management from both the teams, make a detailed plan of what is really required, is another important aspect to look into that. Because if you don't plan well, that means you are planning to fail, right? So you have to really plan and then prioritize what is important, right? Attack only what is important, then make it in multiple phases, right? So because users or any organization cannot wait for 9 months to 1 year to really see the benefits. No, that won't work nowadays. Initial 3 months, yes, this is my benefit. Another 3 months, this is my benefit. Then phase it out over a period of 9 months time, because any IAM tool implementation would ideally take around 6 to 9 months of time, and I would say another couple of months to really settle down. So this kind of a planning involving the stakeholders is, I would say,
All
is
right, but I
primary.
also want to know from you on the collaboration part. When you have to implement IAMs in your organizations, you'll have to collaborate with multiple teams, multiple stakeholders, right? The product side, vendors, implementation team. How can one do that efficiently so that the product that you are building or the IAMs that you are implementing is for success? How do you do that?
That's very important. Collaboration. First, stakeholders, my own stakeholders, to whom I have promised, for example, hey, this is what the benefit that we will be getting it from the product team, right? Senior management from the product team and the implementation team, the implementing partner, right? What is more important is putting a governance structure in the entire project execution, right? Proper governance is mandatory, right? So have periodic meetings, discussions, write down the challenges, because some product can address, some internally we need to address from the process perspective, we in the sense the organization which is implementing IAM solution. And sometimes connecting the product features and the organization needs, the implementation partner has to do. So write down your challenges, have periodic meetings, discussions, brainstorm, understand the ground expectations and what one can do to address the realities and the problems, is periodic meetings and calls and I mean discussing the issues together, finding out the right answer, right solution for us is more important. So the answer to your question is project governance. That is really really critical. Otherwise, the project would naturally fail over a period of time.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you for those insights. Now, coming to you, Vinod, you've been speaking to a lot of customers when it comes to IAMs. You know what industry is talking about, or what challenges do industry people face while implementing these IAMs. So, from your perspective, what are those particular challenges that companies might face while implementing IAMs, and how are you kind of helping them to overcome those challenges?
So I think they talked about quite a few very interesting points. The challenges of implementing IAM are very many, as opposed to many other point security technologies where you may be dealing only with one section of the organization. IAM actually goes right across. Every single person in the organization is a stakeholder in IAM, as you know. Uh, and then when it comes to management, again, you've got everybody right from not just the CISO, but below the CISO and above the CISO. Everybody is involved. One of the greatest challenges that I find, regardless of which country, which geography, which level of maturity in IAM, is to be able to successfully manage the expectations of various stakeholders and to manage it on a continual basis, because as Ravi very rightly pointed out, that the expectations can be very different. That your end user may have one expectation. He talked about technologies like single sign-on and others, whereas your regulatory authorities will have completely different set of expectations. And likewise, if you look at your senior management, their expectations are different. If the project has to be done with a certain ROI and so on. So dealing with these widely varying expectations of different stakeholders is critical to managing IAM implementations. Then again, I'm talking about right now the internal factors. Externally, as Ravi pointed out, it's extremely critical that the engagement also is with your technology vendor. See, in this space, just after, because you have supplied the technology, we believe that uh, the job of the technology vendor is not over. The whole technology in a particular geography is has to undergo changes because of the kind of challenges that keep on changing their face. Today in India, if you see, what has become important is compliance. A lot of regulations. In the last 1 year, the way we see the regulations cropping up and becoming more and more severe, that's become a challenge. Now, that's not going to be the same thing in another 1 year from now, when perhaps something else is more important. So, the best way to implement amidst all these challenges is not to go by the traditional way, which used to be module by module, but look at your risks. How do you cover your risks in the shortest possible time? Because at the end of the day, let's face it, all organizations have limited budgets. In geographies like India, our CISOs, I know, are facing the challenge of their expectations on security and what is available as funding on security. At least in the short run, there's a big gap. And therefore, it's important that you don't look at wide scale implementation, 100% coverage, but look at only those sections of the audience or the people that you need to cover the maximum risk. So you have to look at multiple factors, and collaboration of the vendor, both the uh, technology provider as well as the service provider, as well as the internal stakeholders, is critical
Yeah.
to making a success of your project.
It's a collaborative effort,
Absolutely, and it's
right?
not easy to do that.
Yeah, of course. Now, thank you for giving us those insights. Now, as we are wrapping up this conversation, I want to ask from you and you both as well, but starting from you, sir, what is that next big challenge for IAM? The security needs are evolving, technologies are evolving. So, what do you see as the next big challenge for IAM?
Well, I can't say one, at least two or three I'll have to take because this is a very challenging area. I think one of the critical challenges is for the CISO community to keep in touch with the developments that are happening in technology, because it's a ever moving uh, target. Today, when we look at the technology, it's so different from what you did yesterday, what it was looking yesterday, and that is critical. And then carrying all your stakeholders together is one of the biggest challenges that I
Yeah.
see. The technology itself, the technology providers have a big responsibility of not just looking at technology, but to look at the solutions that need to be are required in a particular geography. And I give you an example of the mobility, which is so
Hmm.
important in India, and the complexity and ever growing need for compliances. So that's another challenge that the technology provider has to successfully meet. I think the return on investment would always remain a challenge for the stakeholders like yourselves,
Abhishek is
CISOs.
smiling. I think he agrees on this point very
Yeah, because
well.
I'm
So
sure he's facing that
this
challenge from
this is something pretty much always a chicken and egg story.
right.
You want to do more, and it's lies largely on lights on. So it is not about the challenge which I am facing, but this is something which I've seen for any progressive person in this space will always find that, what more I can do in this space.
Hmm.
For example, I mean, if I can carry on the conversation which you were having with Binod, uh, why only have Digi Yatra on airport?
Yeah.
Why can't I have identity in a box for my company? Why do I need 3 logins or 4 logins?
Exactly.
Once done, I should be able to get that kind of granular access which is required by me.
Hmm.
Tomorrow, we are deploying so many IoT devices,
Hmm.
and the way things are going more and more autonomous.
Hmm.
Maybe my ring is sending a message somewhere, my refrigerator is sending a message somewhere, but they're sending on my behalf.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there is an identity of devices.
Yeah.
It is no longer limited to individuals. So this is going to expand. Tomorrow, if I want to do something, fine. So there is always a catch-up story whereby no, you, if you're progressive enough, you'll like to do more and more, and you will always find fun short.
All right.
Very
Thank you
true.
for sharing that. Now I would like to come to you, Ravi, as well. What is that next big challenge you see?
My challenge is both of them pointed out return on investment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, the uh, newer technologies that is coming up, how well the product that we have chosen uh, can help us to integrate with newer technologies, right? So evolution of the product that we have chosen, that you have implemented,
Hmm.
right? How well they can cater to the new technology. So on the other hand, what are the additional functional features? The product enhancements from the product company is more and more important, right? So that is something that we need to keep on looking at in addition to return on investment. And he has rightly pointed out, now it's not only people, individuals, it also about objects, it also
Hmm.
about devices.
All right.
Yeah, but yes, the journey is, we are, I would say it's a midway, but journey will
I think
continue.
return on investment is challenge for all of us across all domains.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
On that note, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being a part of this conversation. It was really interesting and enriching conversations and so many insights. Thank you so much. And to our viewers, stay tuned for more such videos only at ET Studios as we will join you from ET CISO Annual Conclave 2024.